Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kappa Event One, Day Three. Wow, I've been like low key Mo and Krill altered by that mustache. That is a wonderful mustache, guy with a mustache.
Hey, thank you,
Welcome.
thank you, thank you.
You were here on cast yesterday, I believe, and we've got someone with actual ball knowledge here, guys. We've got one of our premium players in the tournament. My name is
Yep.
Jace. I will be essentially I'm not going to really call myself the guide dog because I'm the blind person in this case. I'm going to be the blind person, and Guam is going to be the mustache here. We've
Oh, yeah.
got three games for you today, two best of ones, and then a best of three grand finals. First up is Seed 2 versus Seed 1, Sinners versus Utter Woke Nonsense. After this, we've got Heavy Hitters versus Sanctivelum. Guam, introduce yourself and um, introduce yourself. Yeah, let's do it up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm got a mustache. I've been playing this game since 2024. A lot of time on the game, almost 3K hours at this point. Just been grinding and grinding and grinding. So I hope my knowledge is, good to help out and definitely give you guys an insight into probably what a lot of the players are thinking in this tournament.
Yes. Deadlock for me, like I had a go at casting League of Legends in the ERLs, Guam. I've been an Overwatch caster for like half a decade at this point, and I've done all sorts of metas over there. This so far this weekend has been without a doubt the hardest thing I've ever had to cast. Not only am I missing the knowledge, but we had a fight yesterday where we had Kelvin Dome, we had Affliction from Pocket,
Yep.
we had a couple of Ivy Kudzus, we had Bullet Dance, we had Telekinesis, and we had Mo and Krill combo all popped at the same time. And if
Within
you've if
seconds.
you've ever seen if you've ever seen the photos of Diwali, the festival of light and color in India, where people are just throwing paintballs and paint everywhere, and it's a wonderful display of light and color. It was like that, but but deadlock.
Yeah, listen, I mean, even with all of the knowledge that I have in Deadlock, trying to cast a team fight where it was a straight 6v6 and trying to pay attention to who's using what ability, who's on what team even, right? It's a little bit tough sometimes. I think I mixed up the teams multiple times yesterday, but
Oh,
hopefully
it's all
a little
good.
bit better today.
Yeah, nah, all good. I think that I'm asking my producers because I've literally just thought about this. I think if I ask my wonderful observers, if for some of the heavy fights we try and focus on a premier carry from either side and play the fight out from their perspective, it's going to be about 10 times easier. But speaking of premier carries, let's look at the rosters for Sinnersuckers and Utter Woke Nonsense. This is our A seed, our 1 seed from Group B, and our 2 seed, Utter Woke Nonsense, fell yesterday to the heavy hitters, the team of Naya and Nifty B, and that sent them down to a 4-1 record, and that puts them up against the top seed, 5-0 Sinnersuckers. Guam, you were in this Sinnersuckers group, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
who who respectfully kicked your team's fucking ass from the side of Sinners?
I mean, listen, they have a lot of strong players on their team, specifically Cryptic Yuri on the Gunlash. That guy, impossible to hit, and it's just so much sustained damage throughout the course of a fight. And it's really hard to take care of. I'm honestly expecting to see maybe a Lash ban coming out. I mean, I think Lash was picked in like 80% of the games across this tournament, or at least picked banned in
90, it's
80%,
94,
90% of
it's
the, yeah.
94,
So
94, bro. It's perma.
just an insane number of Lash picks. And, one, the
Yeah.
Lash character is awesome, and the Lash character is really good right now, too. So definitely going to be seeing that coming out. And I know Utterwork Nonsense also has some Lash players up their sleeve as well. So,
Yes. And what do you? I guess for utter woke nonsense, I would say that we've got new event comers in Kiwi J, Dark Lord, and Saf, and all of them were excellent
yeah.
yesterday as well. Being and Brexit Geezer are technically also kind of newcomers, but they're a bit more well known amongst the majority crowd of the Overwatch players that went into this tournament. And we're going to get the draft going basically any second now. So if you think the Lash is almost certain to be present, is there anything you want to pair with the Lash, ideally, that you've seen? Anything that you're seeing being paired with the Lash, either 4 lane or as an opposite carry? Like
Yeah.
if you're going to secure Lash on, let's say, B1, blue side one first pick,
Yeah.
or FP, what do you want to pair with it?
I mean, certainly this goes back to the olden days of 2024. It's the OG Grav Dragon of Deadlock. It's Lash Dynamo. You pick 6 of them up and you throw them straight into the Grav. Like it is a very hard combo to beat. You're gonna need to see
Ooh,
Undomitables,
interesting.
Unstoppables coming out for both sides of the teams, and that's definitely like the straight combo that I think of when I see a Lash player. Um,
Yeah. Fair enough. I actually didn't think of the Dynamo and the last Trumbo together. It's not something I think I've seen yet.
Yeah,
Dynamo does, however, have an abysmal win rate this
yeah, but also
tournament.
an equally high pick rate though.
Yeah, so that's interesting. This will be my first look at Sinners actually, but they've got a lot of solid. They've got a lot of solid players for sure. Sinners just have a couple of players that I think it's kind of obvious. Some people are just good at games. Some people
Yeah,
are good at, like, for example, obviously being in the Overwatch community. A lot of the players are good because they've got 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours. They've studied, they've hit the books, they've hit the VOD reviews, and they've developed muscle memory. They've hit the Kovacs. Whereas some players, when they hop over to games, they just naturally get up to a higher starting point because of their ability to understand concepts quickly. And some people are just naturally good
yeah,
at games, man. And I think Altair and Cryptic Yuri for Sinners
yeah,
absolutely are that. On the flip side as well, I think Overwatch has been through so many changes of a game, so many shifts, so many forms, that you can take so many lessons onto the other games. As we're waiting for first ban here from Sinners, I believe it's going to be actually a lash ban from Sinners, but we're going to get the update graphic hopefully
very
going
soon.
now
Yeah,
because yeah, so we're a bit
there it
delayed,
is.
but
Yeah.
here we go.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
That's
just what we were talking about, right? This Lash character has been utterly dominant in the tournament. Same, honestly,
yes,
the Victor ban is a little bit confusing to me. I think Victor is another one of those characters with a very low win rate in this tournament, but maybe it's a target ban over onto the Center Suckers.
I I also think the auto work nonsense. I think they really struggled yesterday with. I think in Deadlock you guys are calling them wall breakers, but
Yeah,
in
yeah,
League I prefer the term split pushers. So once that's
yeah.
been accepted, but we've got Bebop first pick. How do you feel about that? And then also, how do you feel about the response of Dynamo and Warden? Seems pretty standard so far, though, right?
Yeah, this seems very standard from what I've seen in the tournament so far, and honestly, like very similar to what we'd see in a tournament like Night Shift. The Victor band's like really the only thing that's a little bit interesting, but
Mm.
Bebop's very strong pick character. Definitely, I think the strongest pick character in the game. I mean, all the other pick characters, their pick abilities are on an ultimate ability length cooldown, whereas Bebop's that can get down to 10 seconds, and then with the max uppercut, you can get a second hook coming in there instantly. And first pick
Yes.
Warden, something that was very interesting to me. Warden and Viper are the two strongest carries in this tournament right now. And I mean, just prioritizing your strongest carry that early, as well as the Dynamo pick, is something that looks very good from Utter Woke Nonsense.
Yeah, so Pocket and Apollo going in, and I think if my memory from yesterday and some of the reading up I've done so far is obviously we know Apollo is an early game carry. Pocket,
Yeah,
sorry, an early game lane bully, that's the good term.
yeah, there
Pocket,
you go.
I'm actually not too sure on where Pocket goes at the moment. I think Pocket is, I don't know, give me the lowdown on Pocket. Where do you see Pocket? Is it gun? Is it spirit? Is it early? Is it middle? Is it late game? Where does Pocket fit normally, and where does Pocket fit after a Bebop and Apollo slam?
So right now I'm looking at this, and it could be the position two pocket. Position two, for those who might be a little uneducated, position two is your
Not
second
me.
highest priority farm.
Right, okay.
And
Position one
so
is your highest prio?
Yep, yep. So
Okay,
then
okay.
Pocket, he
Easy.
has a lot of gun damage built into his kit naturally because he gives himself spirit or overall damage amp with his
Yeah,
barrage ability.
yeah.
So you can see him being this very very strong team fighter throughout the early and mid game, and then late game. What I see a lot of Pockets doing is transitioning into this affliction build where it's just you go in, you majestic leap in, you throw your satchel out, your cloak out, and you hit a 3-4 man affliction, and with superior duration, that thing lasts like 15 seconds. And it just makes it so hard for the enemy team to actually look to fight you while their HP pools are constantly taking down. Mind you, you can't heal while you're afflicted, so it's a little
Yes,
bit
of
harder to
course.
actually get back into the fight after getting afflicted.
And there's so much vampirism in Deadlock. It feels like we're
Yeah,
not running around the cursed apple. It feels like we're running around fucking Transylvania at times, Guam.
exactly.
Like, there is a load of drain tanks in the game. Admittedly, one of them was Victor. I think that's fallen off in favor of the M1 build. Um, but Paradox, to cut that point short, Paradox has been picked up, I would assume, in response. This is a strong pick. I believe Saf is going to be on the
Oh, right
Paradox.
on.
This is an EU classic. Mikhail S was dominating on this, like basically
Yeah.
from patch one of the game. How does Paradox fare currently in 2026?
I mean, Paradox has been, reworked from day one of the game, constantly making changes to their kit. And just Paradox as a whole has always been an S plus tier character throughout the course of this game, and honestly, she's still really good right now. She's definitely fallen off. It's definitely going to be this pick roll, the same as the Bebop, but notably the silence wall is what's really interesting. So tier 2 of Paradox wall makes it so that when you walk through it, the enemy team, they get silent. So when we see these picks onto Apollo and Pocket, these characters that need their abilities in order to escape scenarios, that Paradox
Yes.
wall is going to be detrimental.
Yeah.
And following this, we see the bans of Silver and Mo. The Mo seems like a little bit of a target ban. My buddy is on Utter Woke Nonsense, so I do know that he plays a lot of the Mo and Krill character, but he's going to be on Dynamo this game, I'll tell you that much. And the Mo ban's a little bit interesting.
Oh my god, we get a Drifter.
Here it comes.
Wait, this is the first time for me. So yeah, not quite Drifter and Silver in the same comp, which is maybe what Sinners were aiming for. So Mo and Krill and Silver. Mo and Krill definitely a bit more of a I don't quite know if it's early game, but it's definitely a frontliner. Silver definitely an early gamer. So Utter Woke Nonsense. They don't play it, but they take away another lane bully that they could have that Sinners could have potentially paired with the Apollo. I'm not sure if teams opt for more than one lane bully. It feels like I've seen a lot of scaling come out from pretty much all the teams I've casted all tournament. But Drifter and Doorman, these are two picks that I've not seen too much of. So talk to me about the Drifter real quick whilst we prepare for the 5 and 6 to come out from UWN.
Yeah, of course. The Drifter, once again, you can look at the Sinner Suckers comp and tell that they want to win the early game, and they want to try and push this for a very, very early win. And honestly, the opposite is completely true when you're looking at the Utter Woke Nonsense draft. With the Wraith and the Warden pick, they're very high farm characters. They're very high farm characters that makes it very hard to actually convert a win after the 30-minute mark here.
Holiday, this is a ace in the hole of Utter Woke Nonsense as well. I've heard the rumblings. You might have gotten it as well from, as you said, you got one of your guys over there playing for them. I think UWN are missing some frontline. What do you think is the best in slot here for this 6 slam? I'm thinking you probably need a frontliner, right?
Yeah,
just like a pure tank, maybe someone some hard CC.
Oh no, they're opting for the hard support Rem. This is interesting. Okay. So it's probably going to be like a frontline Warden build with like double resistances. Maybe even Ult Warden might come out for the first time this tournament. But it's probably just going to be frontline Warden looking at like a position 2 Warden and the position 1 Wraith, and just constantly getting this Rem to swap from frontliner to carry to just constantly keep them up. And, you know, healing tempo is in a very amazing buy into their comp where a lot of their characters are very good at doing gun damage.
Yes, absolutely right. I think Wraith, Warden, and Holiday are all. Actually, I think Holiday definitely you can get some spirit damage in with your barrels, right?
Yeah.
With those, the jump pads of Holiday is an interesting utility. It's not something I've seen, and I don't think anything similar exists on any other character in Deadlock. But Mirage on the 6th side as well. So just looking at these teams on paper, Guam, there's so much to break down. But who do you think walks out of this draft? Assuming it's 12 players of all equal skill level, who do you think walks out as the winner here in draft?
I don't know. I'm looking at the Sinner Suckers draft, and it's just they have the early game potential. They have the lane bullies. They have the Drifter. They have the Apollo. They have the very good early game damage of Pocket. Then they have the mid game pick potential, right? With the Doorman, we might see Doorman look to cart people underneath the Walker from this 10 to 20-minute mark and just get an easy pick. And the same can be said about the Bebop Hook. And they have the Scaler of Mirage, right? Whereas Utter Woke Nonsense, really, they're looking to scale. So if Sinner Suckers can play this early game, play this mid game as a team, as a unit, and just really look to get those early picks, get the early earns, it's going to be a very hard for Utter Woke Nonsense to get back into the game.
Yeah, that's important that you mentioned the earns, because when you're playing early game versus late game, your late game comp should and will most of the time naturally seed objectives. In Deadlock, it's Sinners. It's not Sinners, sorry. It's going to be earns more likely early, and it's going to be some of the middling jungle camps in the middle of the map, and it's going to be maybe some Sinners. For example, I'm actually not sure what it is in Dota. In League, it's going to be dragons and maybe like a couple of grubs and a Rift Herald. Those, when you're playing for scaling, you're not really playing for those kind of neutral objectives, you're looking to cross map and you're looking to trade. I've seen a decent amount of cross mapping, to be fair, in Deadlock. I'm surprised about how much of it is coming out. Now then, this Mirage character is definitely one that wants to scale, right, as far as I'm aware. But when the rest of the team comp is this early, is this going to be a case where the Mirage is just soaking farm in that sort of, as you said, position one, where they're just going to be soaking farm whilst the rest of their team are getting active? And do you think that's actually detrimental because you've got 5 on one page and 1 on the other? Can Sinners operate as this 5-man aggressive core and just have Mirage as almost the late game insurance option? How do you think that fares?
Well, I think you are missing one thing when it comes to Mirage's kit, and it's the teleport, right? If he ever
Yeah,
is
true.
needed, he can be on the opposite side of the map, and then in a second, right, he can be there
He
and
has a
get into the
global.
fray and get into the fight, even if he's not
Yeah,
the
it's good.
strongest, right? Even if he's not the strongest, in a second, he can turn the tides of a fight from a 5v5, because most likely, Utterwoke Nonsense is going to be sending the Wraith or the Warden to match this Mirage on the other side of the map, and if he can get the wave crashing into their walker and teleport over for a very important earn fight or very important buff fight or a Sinner fight, it's going to be very hard for the side of UWN to actually win a straight 6v5. It's very important. And you talked about the
Yes.
neutral objectives in comparison to League. In League, your movement options are very limited. In Deadlock, most characters can be from the side one side of the map instantly to the other, from
Yeah,
whether it's
agreed.
zipline, speed boost, a teleporter, just hitting good movement off of air vents and stuff like that. And I think that's why we see the importance of the urn, especially considering, right? In League, there are the dragons and there's the grubs, right? That are on opposite sides of the map. The urn is the only objective that you can get besides for structures in
True.
Deadlock. So it definitely emphasizes the importance of this objective. And honestly, looking at that, I really like this side of Sinner Sucker's comp. I really do. I really do.
Yes, I think obviously the earn is definitely a big thing. I saw there's been some disgusting swings in these games. I remember yesterday there was a lot of deathmatch going on in the last Utterwoke Nonsense game versus the heavy hitters. There was a lot of deathmatching going on there. I incorrectly said that their Viper Nifty was just sort of, actually I think they were on Warden actually. They were just kind of farming the whole game. Absolutely incorrect. They were skirmishing a lot early. But what happened was in the mid game, Nifty got a 2v1, killed both of them, took the walker, walked out, and that's a 5k soul, absolute explosion injection right through the veins. And something I've been looking at, and a concept that I struggle with in a lot of MOBAs, playing and observing, is this idea of once the mid game happens, it's one team. Sometimes, like for example, it's a 1k soul lead, and then you blink, and it's like a 5k soul lead, a 10k soul lead.
Yeah.
And I feel like the soul gap can really get ahead of you. It can snowball really fast in the mid game if you're not careful. And I guess just for me, but also other people that might not be as experienced with the MOBAs, before we get into the lane matchup, Squam, why is that? Just quick thoughts on it, I guess.
I think the main thing that you really have to look at is going to be allocation, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
if your Warden is the one that's ahead and he manages to snowball the lead, it's going to be a lot easier for him to keep going than it will be for, if the Mirage is a little bit behind and he gets the solo kill, it's going to be a lot harder for him to get back into the game. So that's probably the main thing that I see from that. And structures also give a lot of money in this game.
Yes, they do. It's, as you said, there's not as much neutral objectives, and you can get a lot. Particularly, they can fall quite quick. Of course, Deadlock introduces the ability to use your 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the objective, something that I don't think any of the other MOBAs do, at least not off the top of my head. Sorry, Dota players, I do not know much about your 25-year-old game. Importantly, though, we're in this. Remember, this is the semi-finals, but it's only a best of one. So both of these teams, they don't really have much of a lead to go with. They don't have any. And as we get into the first couple of minutes of lane, Guam, you can see on the mini-map all the lane assignments are basically confirmed right now. Is there any that jump out to you? Remember, we said before going into the game, Sinners are going to snowball. They want to play aggressive early. Do you think they have gotten their lane decisions, their lane assignments correct, if that's the case?
Honestly, it looks very, very good to me. The Apollo Bebop is so much harassed throughout the early game, as well as the Drifter pocket in mid lane. Opting to put your carry in the side lane is something that's been a little bit interesting to me in this tournament. A lot of times you do want to put your carry in the mid lane with a roamer so that he can get this solo farm. But the Drifter pocket in the mid lane, being able to walk over to another lane and immediately show up and, get those stacks on the Drifter marks and pocket just a whole lot of burst damage. It's going to be very interesting. I'd definitely be looking at Sinner Suckers mid lane very often and seeing where they rotate. And then this Doorman Mirage lane, it's a decent amount of harass. Mirage, notably one of the best laners in the game, and we can see this immediately. This Doorman sets
look
up
at
his
Doorman.
ward to try and
That's
steal the
crazy.
camp, managing to get 2 of them, I believe, and cannot get punished. They just cannot chase him.
That's illegal tech. So something that you mentioned quick there as we get probably a lull as both of these teams are going to be heavily trading, but it's only the first couple of minutes. Is you mentioned the idea of a farmer being safe in a mid lane, normally safe in the mid lane compared to a side lane. I would look at that normally in terms of just in terms of a base thought. I'd look at that as an opposite. I thought the side lane is the one that's going to be the safest because really you can only get ganked from mid lane, considering how easy it is for either side lanes in this game to access a mid lane. If you're going to be 1 versus 2 in a mid lane, potentially 1v3, diving in Deadlock is the easiest thing I've seen in any MOBA ever. So, I mean, I guess just thoughts on that. Like, what do you think about the leaving your carry in mid versus side, and which one may appear safer but actually isn't, and etc. I guess just, yeah. Overall thoughts on that. So it's not really a question, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's actually not about safety. It's about the fact that you want your roamer in the mid lane so that they can go to the side lanes and having access to both lanes. And then it's all about solo farm. So the way that souls work in Deadlock is when there are 2 people in the lane, it gets split 65-65 to both of the players. But when there's only 1 person, they get 100% of the soul value. So you want to put your carry in the mid lane with your roamer so that the roamer has access to both side lanes. And the carry can just eat up all the farm. I actually had a game yesterday.
Oh, go on.
Go on. Okay. I had a game yesterday where my Mo, he left and roamed early. I managed to secure a solo kill in the mid lane. I was 6k at 4 minutes. It was impossible for the other team to do absolutely anything about me. And as I'm saying this, we do see Cryptic come out and get the kill onto the Dynamo early here. And, you know, it's not shutting down somebody who necessarily wants a lot of farm, but this early kill for the Bebop and Apollo is going to make the mid game really, really hard for Utterlook Nonsense.
It adds pressure right now. There's a 1v2 lane. I forget actually which one that the Dynamo died in, so I was paying more attention to the on-screen lane that was going on. It's interesting that you mentioned the idea of sort of just abandoning the concept of, oh, my carry isn't safe in the mid lane, or they're not. It's not about safety of letting them secure the souls safely. It's about the fact that they can get more by being in the mid lane, because then it's easier for your other mid to roam, or your position 4 or 5 to roam, and then also you get 100% of the souls. That's an interesting perspective, and one that, I mean, clearly a lot of people, if not everyone in Deadlock, abides by. I was just thinking a bit more on the passive side about how easy it is to get punished in the mid lane. And speaking of, this Warden might be punished here. It gets so low.
And it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to dive with their wave crashing onto their Guardian, but it is a lot of good damage. And necessarily, when you are looking for these roams and these ganks, getting kills isn't always the objective, right? Getting that carry down to 400 HP so that he is able to be dived eventually, and forcing this Holiday to essentially stay in lane with him and just babysit. And we do see a fight coming out onto this Drifter in the mid lane. Manages to escape the cage, but he's down to half HP. Pocket's showing up, but it doesn't actually look like they're going to be able to get anything. Though, as I said, that Warden does pop ult. Pocket manages to get away with his TP, but Drifter's staying in, and it's going to be a pretty favorable trade here, if not even a kill onto the Drifter, managing to get out with just under 100 HP.
King goes so low, and sometimes I wonder if staying around on this HP is actually worth it. Just go back to base. I'm not sure quite when Zipline Boost becomes available, but it should be pretty soon. Obviously, you've got minions you've got walkers you've got like creeps, minions that will heal you up, but it's not by much. I don't think Drifter has much base lifesteal in his kit. I could be wrong. As we get a nice little rem cam here as our little forecast.
This is something that we didn't talk about in the drafting phase, but the rem tunnels are something that are going to be completely uncontested here. There are currently only 3 characters that can go into the tunnels: Rem, Calico, and Mo. And when this rem is uncontested here, being able to, as we see, you know, we're feeding the solo lane, the solo souls to our Wraith here, and they're just not able to push her out, because at any moment this rem can show back up with his ultimate and just, you know, make it a very hard time for Sinner Suckers.
You talked about the idea of mobility and map presence, and Rem with those tunnels. It's uncontested map presence, absolutely, and that's really, really strong in a game like Deadlock, having just map presence. And you mentioned it's only really matched, I would say, by potentially the global pressure that could come in from the Sinners. Drifter takes a nice nap, and now it's going to be permanent. Good night. No praying for you. Alexa, turn off Maroon 5 by Animals. That Drifter is dead and buried. They'll respawn quickly.
It's looking like they're going to get a follow-up onto the pocket as well. though he's
Potentially.
looks like he's just getting out with a sliver of his HP there.
Ooh,
Doorman
the
is
beam.
matching the gank onto that lane.
Yeah, so Hyper Beam comes in. So Sinners, they kind of get a response kill in a way, and it looks like this beam is just going to be popped to completely shred the tower. Bebop doing a really good job in these early games. That gun damage once it's against the tower is ridiculous because of that ramp up and the beam as well. So 7 minutes in, how do you think Sinners, remember we expect Sinners to have a lead because that's what their comp is designed to do early in the game. Now my question for you, Guam, is the lead enough? How do you think they're managing the expectations? How do you think they're managing the, how do you like their game state? We know they should have a lead. We expect them to have a lead. Is it enough? And where do you think they go from here to further snowball the lead that, remember, they have to get?
So yeah, at this point, we're very happy with the yellow tower being down. Arguably is the most important guardian in the game because that is where the first urn is going to spawn. The first urn always spawns on yellow every single game, so they are going to naturally have priority for this first urn, and I'm looking for them to fight over that. And their overall game state, it looks very good, right? The Mirage at 6.4k, the Bebop at 7.2, but I wouldn't count Underwoke Nonsense out of this yet, with the Wraith now at 8.6k after that solo kill onto the Doorman, trying to steal her Sinners, and she manages to get in there, and with a 700 bag and almost a $3,200 item to buy here, it's going to be a little bit hard to shut out this Wraith without ultimates being used on her.
Yeah,
As I said, I think a big fight going on here in mid.
Bing is absolutely position one. Altair, if they can get healed up, they will have Affliction. Not sure how good it is early game, with only 1 XP point, maybe even none channeled into it, 1 upgrade or none channeled into it. But Altair is going to just survive as Brexit Geezer goes down. The Wraith still on the map and he's farming. Look at Bing almost at 10. Bing is at 10k, by the way. So again, all this chaos is going on. Bing really prioritizing the heavy farm on the Wraith, getting that solo XP, but Sinners, I think they're doing a good job of winning the map elsewhere. You can't really stop the Wraith from farming, I don't think, because you have to snowball the map. And in doing so, you snowball the map. As I said, you can't be on 3 lanes at once. I don't think that's the way you're supposed to snowball the map, if my knowledge is correct. So you have to resign yourself to the fact that this Wraith might be fed, but if she's the only one that's fed, then I think you've got ways of dealing with it.
100%. And the way of dealing with it is going to be the urn spawning here in 30 seconds. I'm completely seeing Sinner Suckers resetting to the base, getting a lot of HP.
Paradox is just chilling, bro.
Yeah, just taking it.
Oh, there is dead.
Notably, a very greedy invasion. They do have the Doorman door to get out whenever they please, but he doesn't manage to get it down because he's being body blocked. And right, they tried to do something with their pressure, but in turn, they're ignoring the objectives that are about to spawn, and it seems like Warden's going to get the gun buff here, and they aren't prioritizing the urn either team here. So a little bit interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah. Wait, can your little fuck-ass minions on Rem buy items for you?
They buy items, pick up bridge buffs, pick up boxes. They do just about everything that you can imagine.
I did not know you could send them to buy items for you. That's like low-key silly. That's so cool. Nonetheless, we've got Mirage versus Wraith here, and this Mirage
I mean, this Wraith is 10k. Her ultimate comes out, and
she's at 12 now.
Actually, she's getting pressured now with the Holiday coming in. No lasso for Holiday.
Yeah. It's important to know that that's a friendly Holiday.
Oh yeah, I did.
Don't worry about it. It looked like an unfriendly Holiday, though. Screen. Yeah, it looked like an unfriendly Holiday, don't worry. Bing actually at 12k now, so by far and away the richest man in the game by a good country distance. But the overall soul lead still on the side of Sinners. I think Saf has really struggled in this early game here, but the huge ultimate comes in from the Dynamo of Dark Lord, and it's just going to take out Prince. So Altair goes down. That's another death yet again for the Pocket, doing a good job, Utterwork Nonsense, of denying one of the later game threats in this Sinners comp, and all of a sudden the soul lead is slowly shrinking. I think Utterwork Nonsense, when you're playing scaling versus early game, you're just looking for that one fight where you can leverage the fact that you've got more souls. Like, all you need is one fight where Bing can basically just flex the econ lead on the rest of the team, and from there it's not quite smooth sailing, but you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, and one of the things that I talked about in the early game when you asked the question, it was the allocation, right? How can we look to convert a lead? And when we have a Wraith that is this 13k, when she does show up to that fight inevitably, it's going to be very, very hard. And she's just going to show up and and make a bunch of money in there and probably push for a lead eventually here.
Yeah.
Though
Important
notably,
to...
this is go on.
No, go on. I was about to point out the urn, but looks like there's a fight going on in mid lane as Eternal Knight is popped.
Yeah, he's going to try and chase down the 2 here, and if he manages to get these stacked, this is going to be their real thing where the Drifter is going to be their way to scale into late game here, right? Obviously, the Mirage is their character that is going to hard carry the late game, but the Drifter being able to get these stacks through the early and mid game is going to make another threat that doesn't necessarily need a lot of souls when he has these kills.
Cryptic
Urn
now
is
running
picked
the
up
urn
for
as
Sinner
well. I was about to say, there was a lot of fighting on the other side of the map where the urn destination was and not quite where the spawn was. Originally, it was only the Bebop on the left side of the map, completely barren, completely isolated. And now showcasing the full mobility available in this game. This is going to be a quick urn run from the Sinners Suckers. And it looks like there's going to be no short of unfortunate event here. There might be a late contest from Auto Woke Nonsense, and it could be a team kill that they need to try and counteract this mass amount of souls that's been infused, but...
Looks like they managed to knock it out of the Power's hand, and a cage comes out.
Wait,
it looks like they might have just delivered the urn straight to Utter Woke Nonsense. Yes, and Dark Lord gets the bucket.
Oh my god, Sinners, they hand gifted them urn. They gift wrapped it.
Look at the HP totals for Utter Woke Nonsense. They're going to have to give up the tower here, unfortunately, but getting the urn, getting a kill, it's something that you're very happy with.
I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how good is that for Utter Woke Nonsense in terms of securing
exactly what they needed to happen. Exactly what they needed to happen.
And they're going to get it.
Sinner Suckers really wants to get the first urn there, and it's hand delivered.
Yeah, let's set up expectations well. Of course, that was an amazing steal from Utter Woke Nonsense, but we expected Sinners to get the first urn, right? They technically did. They just had it stolen right under their noses, and it's a huge play from the side of Utter Woke Nonsense to basically collapse on it. They still had pressure on that side of the map. As I said, the fighting was going on where the destination was, not the collection point. So Utter Woke Nonsense were around. They have been aced, so it's just ballooned to a 10k souls lead after Woke Nonsense actually took hold of the game before this fight. So a really quick soul swing here in the space of, well, a couple of seconds.
Falcon actually manages to get a sidewalker here, the green sidewalker, and as you said, it was 10k and now it's 12, right? It's going to be very, very hard for Utter Woke Nonsense to get back into this game with an 18k Bebop. This is not the amount of money that you would expect to see from a Bebop at this point in the game.
True, but Bebop definitely has carry potential, right? That beam is really good. It looks like they're going Gun Bebop, actually, which I think is, I believe it's the better build. It's the stronger build on this patch. And of course, your ability to M1 people, you're going to be able to M1 them thanks to, well, thanks to the fact that your gun is pretty good. We're getting a support 1v1 here. A support 2v1, actually, is both the Dynamo and the Rem have hunted down the Dormant Potato.
This is going to be a great pick for Utter Woke Nonsense to be able to get priority of this comeback urn. It looks like Paradox is just going to swoop in and pick it up and run away from this fight as soon as possible, and hopefully she doesn't get chased too hard here. We do have the Dynamo ult for Dark Lord here if they do continue to chase, and Dynamo ult with these Paradox bombs is something that is very, very underrated. Right? Being able to amp damage and just hit everybody in there, it's very strong.
Yeah. Am I insane for thinking that all of this fighting so far this game has been going on around green, and this is where Apathy is, aka the Mirage of Sinners, when I want to see Apathy on the other side of the map, particularly when that ult is active? Maybe I'm just thinking about it too linearly. Soul Urn returned in the kill feed there as we see the shutdown for the side of... Actually, wait, no. Utter Woke Nonsense... Am I dumb? Did they just deliver soldiers? The lead has completely been closed once
brought
again.
Their comeback urn in, and now at this point they've closed the gap of this lead that we saw was 12k down to a 3k lead for Sinner Suckers.
And no, you are not crazy. The last 5 minutes.
Yep,
it's been nuts.
You're not crazy to be thinking that the Mirage wants to be in this side lane. I was actually thinking to say something about it where it was the Mirage and the Wraith involved in these fights, whereas you were sticking your Bebop on the opposite side of the map, and sure, your Bebop's very strong right now, but really, if your Mirage was there, we would much prefer for our Mirage to be the 21k person and our Bebop to be the 15k, but...
That's also assuming that everyone's at the even skill level, right? I'm not sure of the overall ranks, but if Falcon is the highest member of the team and they give him priority to let him be the position one, let him be the primary carry, then putting the Bebop on that side lane safely away it might not be the most ideal in terms of the character for it, White Guam, but it might be the player that's good for it. And I think sometimes in these games that's more important.
I mean, I can definitely attest to that, right? Being the highest elo player on my team, we were definitely trying our best to give me all of the farm. But I even went as
Mm.
far to learn an entire new role of the M1 carry. But we do see a big hook coming out onto the Warden here.
Ah, he's just dead.
Managing to
Holy fucking
Yep,
damage. Oh
just
my
get the kill
god.
there. And
It's
it's
tight.
looking like it's going to be a chase down here for Center Suckers with the
Another
Drifter ult
good
coming
hook.
out and managing to catch the Holiday as well. It's might be a conversion into another Walker here. Though notably, if they overstay, they can get punished for this.
Looks like they're going deep for it. I don't think you can parry a walker last time I checked, but there should be a lot of gun damage coming through. Yeah, you're kind of seeing it as the beam to finish. I don't know how much damage this is actually going to be doing at this level of the game with no investment into it. It's all gun and a little bit of green. But
Managed to
Sinners,
secure
they
the
are,
Walker and just get away.
yeah.
We do see
Ultimate
Bing on the other side of the
Nonsense.
map here, trying
they're
to get another
cross-mapping.
Walker for his team, but just not managing to secure it. And a TP comes out onto the Mirage. Looking like they're going to market here. Wraithbolt comes out. Does she manage to secure the kill here? Still has Dispel Magic here.
Ooh. We're getting really close to that 20
Going
minute
a
spawn
little
as well.
bit
So
deeper.
yeah, Bing's death here. You'd hopefully, if auto work nonsense, it's not staggered out, because if it is, that might be dangerously close. And I wonder how hard it's going to be for them to contest mid boss.
Gets
They
sniper
die with
lined
46
here, yeah.
left, so they're going to be just alive as mid boss is spawning. But Sinners want more from this as Apathy goes down in response, thanks to the team play of Brexit Geezer and Dark Lord on the Dynamo. There's the singularity. Is there anyone around? This is just the Paradox, and that Paradox is very, very weak. This might be a 1v2 actually from the pocket. Looks like, nah, never mind. It's a 1v3 as the Holiday pops in at perfect timing. A Cowboy arrives exactly when needed, and no sooner and no later. So Auto Nonsense, they're bleeding on the map. They're definitely bleeding in terms of overall players, and their spawns are going to be potentially a bit staggered. Their wave states are going to be a bit pushed, a bit scoured for this potential 20-minute mid-boss spawn, but they're closing the soul gap. Oh, they were.
Yeah, I mean, that was just an utter
going
chase
on?
down onto Kiwi there. Just absolutely, you're not allowed to leave no matter how much movement, how many bounce pads you have. We are killing you, and you are not
Yeah.
allowed.
So if you look at just overall econ, it looks like it's very much Falcon versus Bing in terms of the farm. So if you're any of the other 10 characters in the lobby, what are you trying to do to enable Falcon and Bing to secure as much farm as possible and make the game as easy as possible for them?
So to speak to Bing first, I mean, we have the Dynamo, we have the Rem, we have the Holiday, right? These characters, they don't want to be sitting there and taking Bing's farm, but they do want to be as close as possible without stealing the farm, so that if that Mirage ever shows up again, if that Bebop ever shows up, we can come in and immediately try to save the day there. And for Falcon, right? It's really the opposite, right? He needs his players to play around him in order to get value from his hooks, from the raw amount of damage that he can do.
Yeah.
We see a big team fight here happening over the Urn spawn this time. The first time that this has happened this game.
And it looks like Sinners once again really heavily committing to these urns, and they're basically pushing everyone down. Is this yellow? Which lane is this?
That
Oh,
should
so
be
it's
yellow,
the-
yeah.
Yeah, the yellow lane. Really hard fighting for priority. Of course, there's no Walker for the blue team here, so they've got to really back up. They've only got the base Guardians as a way of keeping themselves anchored. But it looks
a
like
large ultimate investment here for Center Suckers, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get much out of it besides for the original pick onto Jay. But they are going to manage to secure the Urn, right? The reason for using all the ults there, they were trying to look for a mid-boss call there, right? If they got those kills on the yellow lane, rather than just picking up the Urn, they probably would have been able to look to convert it into a mid-boss.
yeah, it's
We do
important
see
to
a
note
lot of
that. Yeah, I was
Go
gonna say, I was just about to mention the cross map. While Sinners were sort of playing this 5v5, Bing was actually hard pressuring and did manage to fall the Walker on the side of Sinner Suckers in that green lane. So Bing got something out of this scuffle that the rest was going on the complete opposite side of the map. So successful cross map from Bing there. That's really good for Utter Out Nonsense game state.
Yeah, but here we see everybody pulling up to this fight now. Early pick onto the Apollo. It's going to look like a very hard Urn for Center Suckers to deposit.
Can they even go for it, right? You gotta remember they had the last one. They had the last one robbed from them. I wonder if that knocks their confidence into doing it.
But they do manage to pick it up and just take it away from Utter Woke Nonsense. Not being able to grab the urn is going to be very, very good for the side of Sinner Suckers, is stopping Utter Woke Nonsense from being able to pick it up.
Yeah, the map's very split right now. We've got a really pushed yellow lane, in which I believe Mirage is responding to from Sinner Suckers. Mid lane is basically even, and on the other side of the map, it's Paradox, Wraith, Rem, and Holiday that are sort of floating between mid lane and green there, the side with the Walker, the only Walker still left on the map, right? Is that one
Yeah.
on the urn delivery side, that one on green.
Yeah, so after about 45 seconds of holding the urn, the urn actually starts to hurt you. I don't know if you're paying attention to Cryptic Yuri's health total here, but it's slowly going down. So it's going to make it really hard for Sinner Suckers to want to deposit this. They want to deposit it as quickly as possible, but just holding it in the area, it forces Utter Woke Nonsense to respond while looking at their blue wave. It's utterly crashing into their base, right? And
yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm just sort of interjecting. I'm not realizing how much damage that Yuri is actually taking there. That was a lot of damage from the urn, and it might actually be enough to force the end of this Apollo's life. The Atari Lower Sarn actually, I think they're committed just to get away, and it might be in the flawless advance. My fault, they look the same on similar cast.
Yeah. A big lasso coming out onto the Drifter here, and they should be able to be a kill secured with just how much damage Bing can do. They managed to get the trade back onto Saf, but I think it might be too little too late, and while all of this is happening, the Warden is getting the Walker on the opposite side of the map, forcing Cryptic Yuri to come back and defend it, but he's not going to be able to shut down the Warden before getting the Walker.
Oh, it's a 2-for-2 trade, and it's fair to say that Woke Nonsense have well and truly scaled into this game now, right? You were thinking around that 25-minute timer, if the Sinners weren't ahead, it was going to be very difficult for them to close out a game, and they definitely are not ahead right now. I think the Drifter and the Apollo are very undersold, comparing to 31k from Bing and 27k from Brexit Giza. I think that Bing has definitely shown up in a lot of these fights. And that has been a huge impact for Woke Nonsense. When you're this far ahead, now is the time, I think, for the race to really show up and exert herself, right?
Yep, it's exactly what we talked about in the early game, right? The allocation. When your money is on the person who you want your money on, and then they inevitably show up to the fights, it just becomes an insurmountable lead, right? They managed to come back from this game where they were down 10k at almost the 10-minute mark and managed to turn it around into an 8k, 7k lead here, where it's not an insurmountable lead for Sinner Suckers to come back from, but this 33k and 27k on both of the carries for Utter Woke Nonsense. Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
As you said, it's not insurmountable. It's definitely throwable. And what's also sure, though, is that Utter Woke Nonsense have a comp that is more suited and is more happy to be at this level of souls and this late in the game. The map state seems pretty even. There's a mid-walker still available for Utter Woke Nonsense, which is more souls. But right now we're seeing a congregation of Sinners around mid that are potentially looking to force a pick. They might have got one on the Rem here. Yes, they did.
Jay with a 1,000 bag.
A huge cash injection for the Sinners Suckers there, but there might just be like a little bit of a cross map as well.
Yeah, their Utter Woke Nonsense saw all those people and they said, what does my team, or what does the enemy team want to do here? And, right, they want to do an objective. They can't get the Walker. So they said they're going to want to do the urn with this pick. So they take it, and they're just going to take it back to base. They're not actually looking to deposit it here. They're just going to look to reset their map state, group up as a team, and then force a fight around this Bing and Brexit, where hopefully in a straight 6v6 should just be an instant team fight win for them.
Yeah, it's important to know that the lesser soul-injected members of Utter Woke Nonsense are perfectly fine doing that. The Paradox has still got the slow of the Carbine and the swap off the ultimate. And if you're able to swap someone with 21k souls for someone with 31k souls, Falcon doesn't have the most mobility on that Bebop, and Saf actually won't even mind just throwing themselves into the fire and the flames if it means a 1-for-1 trade in onto the Bebop. There's no world that you can justify that being a good trade for Sinner Suckers if you get the kill onto the Paradox, but your Bebop dies as well.
Yeah. I mean, to talk to that point as well, like the money's just where they want it to be on Utter Woke Nonsense. Dynamo being the third most farm, he's most likely their position 3. Those Dynamo ults are team fight winning abilities, so I'm expecting to see a fight breaking out soon here in favor of Utter Woke Nonsense, because right now, I don't see any curses. I don't see any CC abilities for the side of Sinner Suckers to shut down this Dynamo ult. And there's just so much pick potential for Utterwook Nonsense.
So much of it. They have a good amount of wombo combo as well. Sometimes when I look at the games go this long, I think who has a better team comp in the inevitable mid boss fight? Because it feels like mid
Yep.
boss fights are really common. Around these times late in the game. Both teams unsure. Both teams know that mid boss is going to be the deciding factor in the game. Which team functions better in a tight room in a 6v6? And that's the question on my mind. And I think the clear answer so far is utter woke nonsense. Sinners are crawling themselves back into the soul lead though. And how do you think Sinners overall have played the map in the last 8 minutes or so? I think it's been hard for me to track because there's so much going on. There's been so much fighting and both teams playing actively on 3 lanes. Do you think Sinners are doing the correct thing by playing on 3 lanes, and who do you think ultimately this benefits?
Yeah, I mean, once again, they can keep playing the map perfectly at this point, but if they're not getting this pick onto Bing and not getting a pick onto Brexit, it's just going to be a lead that they keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. Is we see Bing almost up to 40k at this point, and
Monster fed.
I think their overall map play has been really, really good, but just not being able to convert it into the correct picks has been a large issue. They've gotten the picks onto Kiwi, they've gotten the picks onto Jay, but just not being able to shut down these carries as they're just farming and farming and farming is a really large issue.
And I will say that we've got a lot of grouped up members of Sinners here, once again, looking around for what looks like an earn escort, I think it is, for Sinners, as we're seeing the Holiday actually take it. Are they looking to... No, they're not looking to gank the Holiday. What are the Sinners? What are all these Sinners doing on this right side here of the map?
I think
It
at
looks
this
like
point
they've-
they're just trying to catch out Bing or
They're
Brexit
trying to force
if
it.
they were still on the side lane, but they left
Dead
Jay in the
ram.
side lane, and at this point it's going to be a pick onto Jay and probably a conversion into a Walker. But one thing that I really like to harp home about is an Urn is worth so much more than a Walker because the Urn is temporary, Walkers are forever. Right? You can always get the money from a Walker whenever, but the Urn, it only spawns once in a blue moon.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, obviously the Walker is going to be good for map presence, right? But valuing the earn is definitely a big cash injection. It puts them 10k up like instantly, right? Even after losing a kill, Falcon finally exerting themselves with that hook to keep them in range. It's Falcon versus Wraith right now. Both teams are around it. This could be the fight that we need, Bomb. This could be the fight that breaks open the whole game, and it's Cryptic with the first final blow onto Bing, and it's the hyper carry. Jay was not in this fight, so there was no healing, there was no sleep from the Ren. That would have been vital, helping peel Bing in this fight. He's on an 80-second respawn. Sinners, dare I say it, can you just push mid and go? Can you just push lanes and go mid boss? Like,
Yes,
obviously,
yeah,
Falcon
that's
finished off
exactly
Brexit
what's going to happen
teaser.
here. I don't know if you were watching the
of
map
carries
there
are
for a
down.
second. Dynamo was utterly stuck behind them, and
Yeah, it's
managing
good.
to get the pick onto the Dynamo is the most
That's
important thing to look
mid-boss.
for.
Oh, how did Utterwork Nonsense end up here? Bing is basically just, are they caught out? Are they picked off? Are they just overloaded? Were we just not tracking map positions for Utterwork Nonsense? This felt like illegal from Sinners to be able to just kill Bing and then go mid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing I'd be really interested in seeing is how defensively Bing is built, right? I don't know if you were paying attention to health totals there in that 1v1 from Bing and Falcon, right? Falcon managed to stay on full HP throughout the entire fight with Bing. And, oh, but we do
Well, it
see
lifesteal.
Jay coming in with a, oh my god,
Oh my good lord.
manages
Jesus
to get all
Christ.
3 from Utterwoke Nonsense. An amazing sleep into Paradox swap combo. They are going to die for it. They don't have a way
All of
out.
them.
It's going to be a very hard conversion for Sinner Suckers here.
If they don't manage to end the game here, this could be a comeback of all comebacks. It could be another miracle objective play from the side of
Managing to
Utterwork
keep
Nonsense,
a
but
reju from there as well. Rem just saying, all right, see ya, and taking the tunnel straight out.
they have one
That is a
rejuve
miracle
left.
play.
They have one rejuve left, and it's probably going to go for Bing, right? You would think that they're going to try and make sure that Bing can make the most use of that rejuve. So quickly, now that mid boss was secured by Utterwork Nonsense, how does that help them stop the oncoming wave of pressure on their objectives and their base that Sinners are about to provide?
I mean, I don't think there will be any pressure. I think right now, Sinners are just looking to pick up this urn and take it away from Utterwoke Nonsense so that they can't look to convert another objective. And I think we are going to see the Apollo, the Cryptic Fury Apollo, pick it up here. No,
Never
he's
need to.
opting not to.
as we're getting a quick check on the KDs, and Bing 2, 3, and 7, so not a lot of kills actually for the side of Woke Nonsense. The KDA score's definitely been massively in favour of Sinners with Yuri, Cryptic Yuri, yet again. Cryptic putting up an impressive performance on the Apollos, to be expected, to be fair, only because of the calibre of player, but also the tools that he's provided, that the Apollo is graciously giving to him. So good early game, and oh my god, this is another pick potentially coming in from Sinners. Could the Warden be caught here? Is not quite lost the most HP in the world, but the Sinners are swarming around this combo of blue players here in the mid lane as they're trying desperately to, I think, stop the urn capture.
And a 4-man Dynamo from the
It's a
Dark
4-man Dynamo. Is this enough? Woke Nonsense.
It looks like it is more than enough, with Cryptic Yuri's
it's-
Ricochet just going absolutely crazy into
Good
that Dynamo ult. Managing to still keep their Rejuvenator there is very important as well.
What a disgusting ult. If you're Woke Nonsense, do you have the concentration to be able to snowball this from here? Can you keep everyone alive? Can you hit the key objectives? Cryptic gone as well. Both your carries from Sinners are on 70-second respawns.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a quick pickup of the urn, a quick deposit of the urn, and another late pick onto King there. It's going to make it a lot harder for them to actually come back and take this
Another
6 and 6 once
70-second
they're all
respawn.
spawned.
Yeah, now all the enemy walkers are gone.
Yeah, there goes the last walker, and we're going to see Base Guardian, Shrines, and even the Patron swiftly fall here. For utter
We're at the
nonsense.
point in the game now where Bing basically can just one clip a shrine or two. They can one clip an objective or two because they just do so much fucking damage. Look at this thing get absolutely shredded. The power of the M1 Wraith has been on full display this game from the hands of Bing and utter Woke Nonsense.
He does inevitably pick up the Indomitable here, which, as I was saying before, he didn't have these defensive items to stop him from getting shut out in that 1v1 against Bing, or against Falcon, excuse me. And being able to pick up this Indomitable, it's going to stop the hook, it's going to stop a Doorman ult, it's going to stop a Tornado, it's going to stop a lot of these key cooldowns that are going to be used to get him caught out. And I'm honestly would not be surprised if I see another close to defensive item here like Leech coming out.
I think you need
for
to.
Bing.
I think you should. Like when you're so far ahead, like Falcon's really the only one that can touch you in terms of souls, and you are at this point where you don't even need utter Woke Nonsense to have this many souls on the Warden or the Dynamo. I think you can just sort of go in there, and as long as they're bodies, as long as they're distractions, as long as they're landing cooldowns for you, you don't even need the 4-man Dynamo ult that we saw. So this game was very much a classic example, I think, Guam, of like scaling versus the early game, and at some point, the Fulcrum just sort of shifts to the side of the scaling team. They find a fight, they find an opportunity, they find a moment. If you look back at the 34 minutes of this game, do you think you can pick out 1 or 2 moments where you can definitively say this was when Utter Woke Nonsense took hold of the game? They grabbed the reins off the side of Sinners and decided, no, this is our game now. We're at this point. We outscale you.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're maybe the most important one would have been that first urn delivery, right? Sinner Suckers had a
Low-key, yeah.
10-0 lead even after the first urn was given to Utter Work Nonsense, and imagine if they had secured that. Dynamo popping unstop here, not being able to get caught out by this Doorman. And then on top of that is they kept their Mirage on the same side, right? That their Mirage was in the wrong side of the lane for majority of the game, and putting a lot of money into Falcon there. That was really where the game went wrong for them, was just not having their carry in the proper spot.
I think Falcon and Cryptic have actually had individually good games, but I think Falcon has, when you're getting this much resources from your team, I think on one hand, I think Falcon definitely could have done better with those resources, but I also think Sinners needed to do better to try and enable this Bebop. They do so much damage over sustained periods of time, but there's not been sustained periods of time, and that's more so credit to Utter Woke Nonsense, who have found multiple instances of multi-man grabs from the Singularity for the side of the Dynamo, and big team fight ultimates, as you said, the Wombo combo at the start of the game. There's no Lash, but there is still that massive black hole from the Dark Lord himself, and sometimes that's all you need, even in a game with carries at 54k and 45k, and, you know, ridiculous gun damage. It can be one single like 4-man Wombo combo that can win you the game thanks to your support.
No doubt. And I mean, if we were talking about singular moments where the game was lost, flipped on its head, it was that mid-boss steal from Utterwook nonsense. I mean, down 3.
They got some illegal that and the urn steal this game as well. You'd think if Utterwoke nonsense, they've done everything they can. You think, right? Surely,
Yeah.
like that was. Oh my good lord.
Oh my dark lord. No.
True. Oh my dark lord,
Um,
actually.
But I mean, and to talk about the point where Falcon was, he was doing everything that he could. He managed to find the pick onto Bing there earlier on, and I'm questioning the Bebop pick for one of our best players, right? It might be a comfort pick, but if he is this higher caliber of player and we are going to be putting him on the side lane like that, why not just put him on a character like the Wraith, like the Venator, like the Viper, like the Haze, where you can just sit there and then inevitably show up and instantly win the fights, because Bebop can't necessarily do that himself. It does, no matter how strong a Bebop is, there's still things to play around it. And I mean, this is the call here.
Yeah, I really love this mid-boss call. They're going to absolutely shred it. Like, Bing could probably solo this by himself if they give them not quite 10 seconds or so, but it's all in pressure. Utterwoke nonsense potentially stalling this out a bit. There might be a plan to stop any potential steals coming in. This could be the final fight as the Singularity is popped on top of the rejuve to make sure it's secured by all members of Utterwoke nonsense. Altair is the first to go down as the fight continues inside of the pit. That's Cryptic falling off screen. Call that one a Shakespearean death, and it was anything but cruel. We're actually, I think we're in a Shakespeare tragedy right now, and not the song by Panic at the Disco. Although I think to continue on the puns, Sinners, I don't think they're really panicking. I think they'd actually be crying at the disco right now. And I think they're going to be crying in their spawn because I think their Nexus is about to explode.
That it is. And I mean, it was just the point that you called out earlier, right? Utterwoke nonsense has the better mid-boss comp, right? So why not, when you have the better mid-boss comp with this large of a lead, just do the mid-boss, right? Just do it when it spawns and force that 6v6 in those close quarters, and it's going to be a game win for Utterwoke nonsense. Moving on to the finals here.
If you were to call it a Shakespeare performance, it's not quite a comedy of errors. If you were to call it a book, it's a series of unfortunate events from Sinners Suckers. Because how do you allow the first urn and the mid-boss to be stolen in the same game? I think Utterwoke nonsense. They get away with blatant fucking thievery, Guam, bro. Holy shit. Utterwoke nonsense, our first finalist. Congratulations, you're top 2. At least. They're going to get the rematch against the heavy hitters.
That's what it's looking like, and I mean, to start talking about that match from Utterwoke nonsense into the heavy hitters, it really didn't seem close. It didn't seem close. We do have the post-game stats here, and I mean, we talked about allocation in the early game, and Bing just with all the money, all the objective damage, not a crazy amount of player damage, right? Because as I said, right, we want to keep them opposite side of where everything is until they're ready to fight. Until they're ready to fight.
Yeah, 33k, which overall I think was still the most on his team. But look at that objective damage. That's the important one. I love seeing that from Bing.
Yeah.
38k objective damage is that 38k compared to everyone. Yeah, you can. I mean, you got to remember, MOBAs are objective based. The two ways to play, I feel like you can play the PvP or you can PvE, and I think the Wraith did a good form of both. As we said, we criticized the Mirage and Falcon for, I think criticized, we called out the we expressed our disinterest in the way at which they were operating on side lanes, and we felt the fact that they maybe could have been more aggressive. They could have swapped that round. They made a couple of incorrect decisions, and decisions that ultimately came back to bite them. But I think Utterwoke nonsense, they handled this race pick. They trusted that Bing would deliver on it, and they did. 38k objective damage is fucking ridiculous. This Wraith did most of that before they managed to take down the shrines and ultimately the big boss in the middle of the pit. So fantastic work at breaking the objectives from the Wraith of Utterwoke nonsense. She sidelined and cross-mapped terrifically this game, Guam.
100%. They just Utterwoke nonsense did an amazing job of just funneling money into Bing. That is their entire objective throughout that game, throughout getting honestly stomped through the early game. And I mean, if we were paying attention to the kills there, when they did press tab, when our observer pressed tab, well, it was down, 14 kills to almost 30 for Sinners Suckers. And just being able to come back from a game where the other team, they played the early game amazingly well. And it all just fell into that mid-boss steal with the ult from Jay and the ult from the Paradox player. I apologize, I wasn't looking at the names, but Paradox and Rem coming in with an amazing, amazing steal onto the Rejuvenator. And it's just at that point, I'm sure the mentals from Sinner Suckers and just everything was a fray. It must have been very, very hard to come back into.
Yeah, I think ultimately the scaling comp once again kind of like won.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's been a common denominator throughout the tournament. We've seen a couple of early game snowballs, to be fair. And this was one of our first games I saw on stream without a lash. It was banned, obviously, but it was not picked. So we got to see some interesting carries. But in that, the Wraith has been a mainstay of basically all the good teams, which is all the ones in our final four. Wraith is like 100% present, and she probably will be 100% present in pick and ban for these final 3 games. Guam, I guess any final thoughts, shout outs, who do you give to MVP of both sides as we wrap this up and go into a break before our next game?
I mean, it's just got to be Jay with the sleep coming on to the mid boss. That was the game winning play, and that massive sleep into the massive
agreed.
swap. That's got to be the MVP right there. And I mean, of course, we've been talking about Bing for 25 minutes here of just how they can scale and how they can inevitably win the game. So it's got to be Jay and Bing for the side of Utterroke nonsense.
And as I said in a game of carries, it was a couple of Dynamo ults and it was the sleep to secure the reju from the mid boss that was the big impact. It was the most important play in the game. I think we'll throw it to a break. I'm going to check with Prod how much time we've got for the next game. We might be able to do an interview from someone on the side of Utterwoke Nonsense, maybe, if they want to, depending on how much time we've got. Okay, yeah, no interview. The next game's going to be up ASAP. All right, guys, so don't go anywhere. We're both going to get a drink or two and join us for our second semi-final. Remember, it is going to be a best of one. And then after this will immediately be our grand final. So Utterwoke Nonsense, they're going to watch eagerly, they're going to take notes, and they're going to get a well-earned rest because we've got Last Call versus... sorry, it's Heavy Hitters versus Sancta Velum. It's not Last Call. Heavy Hitters versus Sancta Velum is going to be on your screens in a couple of minutes. See you guys on the other side of this break.